Now it's time for a couple of pro tips. You probably don't spend much time thinking about your washing machine, but it's important to keep it up on its routine maintenance so it doesn't break down and cost you big time in the long run. Here's a quick look at how to keep it up to speed, running strong, and prevent a service call. All right guys, if you have a front load washing machine, I've got some maintenance tips for you that are super important. It's gonna save you a ton of money. Many times you'll come in, you'll have a load of towels and all of a sudden they're sopping wet. You're like, what's wrong with my machine? It's the maintenance that you didn't do on it. Let me show you how to do this. This could save you a service call. So almost every machine like this, on a front load at least, has this little door or an access panel. Read your instructions, it'll tell you where it's located. Now this here has a filter in it. So, you know, I'm a handyman guy. So when I'm out there doing stuff, I might have screws or stuff that I forgot to take out of my pockets. There's a filter right here that keeps that from going into the pump and ruining your washing machine, because that's what drains this back out into your sewer system. So there's a filter down here that you have to change every once in a while. It's not like you have to buy a new one, but it's a basket that catches anything from bobby pins to whatever you left in your pockets that floated out of them during the wash process. So this one here on my LG, I have a little hose right here. So I get something short, because any drain that I can get out of here, it means when I pull the filter basket out, that's water that's not going to hit the floor. So I'm going to give that a moment to drain. I can see that since there's water coming out of here, that it is a little bit plugged up. So we'll take a look on mine and see what we get out of there. I could have some treasures in here that I didn't even know I lost. All right, so this wasn't too bad. Sometimes I've found a hardware collection down here. So I've got some plastic, got some lint, and it looks like a nail and a piece of wire. So I'm going to get all of this out of here, cleaned up. The more stuff that collects in this, what happens is it's just like anything when you get a plugged up drain. As soon as you get pieces in here, hair, lint, everything will just start grabbing a hold of it, and it just gets thicker and thicker and thicker, and then you got a mess. So once I get that all nice and cleaned out, I'm just gonna put it back in here. All right, get that nice and snug because you don't want it to leak. Close the door, and that saved you a service call. Now, front load washing machines have also had kind of a nasty reputation with the early ones here in the United States of getting smelly and nasty. And so there's products out there that you can run through these washing machine cleaners. Follow your instructions. There's some different ways that they do it. Mine has a self-cleaning cycle, so I just cut this open, dump it in the inside, close the door and hit start and walk away. It'll tell me when it's done. That way it's nice, fresh and clean, and you've done all the maintenance you can on this thing. One other little note too, check the hoses out back. If they're rubber, and that's the cold and the hot ones, change those things about every 5 years. That'll prevent a flood. That's all you gotta do to keep your washing machine fully maintained. Now let's shift gears and talk tools. If you've ever questioned what pliers to use for a specific project, listen up. Here's a quick guide on picking out the right ones for the job. All right guys, today's pro tip, we're gonna talk about pliers and using the right one for the project. Now this is probably your most common set you see in just about everybody's toolbox. It is a slip joint set, which means it has a couple different settings, kind of a short one and a small one. And it depends on what you're trying to grab a hold of. What I don't like about these is that when I try to get around just a common piece of 3/4 pipe, look how far my hands are apart. That's not easy to do because I've got to hold it together and turn. And so these are really good for small things, but that's just about it. I prefer to go with a slip joint like a gas, these are called gas or water pump pliers. I call them channel locks depending on what you want to call them, but they work really well, and you can adjust them by the teeth on the side right here. So I can adjust them to have the right size. Now I can get around this. That was a little wide, I'll bring it in here. And now I can bring this in and get a good grip and tighten things up. But here's one little trick with these. You need to pay attention to the teeth direction, because if you go the wrong way, it's just gonna slide on there and you're gonna chew this up. Now, if you go the other direction, you can really get some meat on it with the way of the teeth, and it'll work out really good. This is great for doing some plumbing work, things like that under the sink, and they make them in different sizes. So you can get out to something like this and do something under maybe a drain, a trap, something like that. This is a great way to go. Now, there's one little trick with these. If you sit there and you're working on something decorative, these teeth will chew it up. So wrap some tape around it, whatever you got, whether it's masking, electrical tape, and that'll not mar the surface as much. So just get them covered up. Won't grip as long, but it'll work pretty well. Now they make different ones as well. You can get slip joints that are designed for nuts, bolts, things like that, so I can grab a hold of it with that. Those work good for those applications. But really, let's talk about these lineman pliers. These are really good. This is good for electrical. I've got a cutting thing on here where I can come in here and do this. Or if I want to bend things around and bend things together, they work really well. So this is a very common electrician's tool. Now you can get needle nose pliers. They have something here where I can cut again, right down here. I can cut a wire off with them and do that. What I like them for is the small jobs. These work really well for creating a loop at the end of a wire. If you're trying to do something like that, it's really simple because that tiny tip works well. Now they do make offset ones, so if you're working around a corner, things like that, these are again another specialty set of pliers. Now they have the lock joint. These things are great as an extra set of hands because I don't have to grip them with my hand and hold them while turning. So I can sit here, get this around, and now that's going to hold on to itself. Those work really well when you're trying to have something as a second set of hands. And so if I was trying to get on here with this, that'll work pretty good and hold, and I don't have to fight it, which is handy. Now the last kind here is another kind of vice grip. These are specialty. This is for welding. If you're going to be either fastening two pieces of something together and you need it to clamp really hard, I use this for automotive a lot, but if I'm trying to put two pieces of wood together and I need an extra set of hands, I can clamp it together and do the same thing. Now there's a lot of different pliers here, but all of them have a specific purpose, all to make your job a little bit easier. Next, I wanted to show you guys the proper way to use your hitch on your truck and avoid any accidents. All right guys, today's pro tip, we're gonna talk about safety with a hitch. Now this is really important. Maybe you're out there and you're gonna pull a stump out of the backyard or your friend's stuck in the mud or the snow. This is what you have to be careful for. A trailer hitch is really meant for pulling a trailer. But the problem is, if I come on here with a tow rope and put it around here, two things can happen. One, this can shear off, and then this is gonna snap back like a rubber band and send metal that way, or it's gonna slide off and somebody's gonna get hurt. There's a safer way. Swap the hitch out, put that away for the trailer, and get yourself one of these hitches with a D-ring. This mounts in the same way with a pin, and now I can come through here and lock this in. And I have a secure way to hold that, and it's going to be a lot stronger than using your hitch. This is a great thing to put in the back of your truck or SUV in case you need to be pulled out or you're going to pull somebody else out. It's a great way to keep it safe over the winter.